is Terry Bradshaw, quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
This is baseball, Major League Baseball. And
Welcome to Past Our Prime as we head into August. I'm your host, Scott Johnston, along with my two other hosts, Mark Hoffman and Bill Mahoney. Hey, boys, summer is going by in a blink. Man, I hated the last few days of summer when I was a kid.
Well, summer has changed so much. It's changed so much because when we were kids, at least for me, school didn't start till after Labor Day.
That's right.
So you had half of June, all of July and August, before you had to think about school. Now school starts in the middle of August for these kids. It's
August 12th is when Callie starts school.
It's
literally
sucks.
2 months from when she got out.
Yeah, I think I would rather, oftentimes you like what you know, but I think I would prefer getting out, they get out now like in, before Memorial Day.
Yep.
And I would prefer to get out like we did mid-June.
Yeah, Callie got out June 12th.
June 12th. So it's a little shorter than two.
Yeah.
So
more
days off.
She gets a 2 month Christmas, 2 month summer, and then you're back. It's no more 3 month.
So they have more days off during the year.
Holy smokes, they do. Basically, the first 4 months of Callie's school is like 3 weeks on, a day off, 3 weeks on, a week off, 3 weeks on, 3 days off. It does that for the first, few months. And then right at the end of the year, they give you like an 8-week, no days off thing.
She stole the show. That's the headline from the August 2nd, 1976 issue of Sports Illustrated. And on the cover, the thief who stole it, Nadia Comaneci, a Romanian 14-year-old gymnast who was a sensation at those Montreal Olympics. You guys remember her?
I sure remember. Because everyone was talking Olga Korbut in 72, and then Nadia comes along and blows Olga out of the water. So I remember her too. And later when we get into a little more details about Nadia, I'll tell you what she has in common with a vampire.
Hopefully not too much.
She's out for blood.
Yes.
All I remember is that she's one of probably the first person that got me interested in the Olympics. Because what I remember is just, that's another 10 for Nadia Comaneci. And that's what I remember. And she looked so young. And I thought, doggone, that's amazing. And I remember my parents and I gathered around the TV and just every time she came on. So she really was a rock star, at least in our place.
Absolutely. Yeah. They've been doing gymnastics a long time. So when you're doing the first, and I'm going to admit, I've never been into the WNBA or the LPGA. I liked women's tennis growing up, Martina and Chrissy and that stuff. But for women's gymnastics, the thing these young women, and in this case, young girl, the things they can do are out of this world. Whether it's the balance beam or the uneven parallel bars, I just remember watching it and being amazed.
Pommel horse.
Yeah, at what they could do. It was truly amazing. Still is to this day. So Nadia getting those 10s, it just seemed humanly impossible.
Yep.
Some of the things that she could do. So we'll talk a little bit more about her. This is an Olympic issue like no other. Lots to get to. But first,
boy.
Bill.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
What are the stars telling us?
Yes, this is a little scorecard called Starcross, and I'll try to, because it's sort of not confusing, but I want to make sure I stay on point here. It says, if it is true, as many believe, that the future of each of us can be foretold by studying the positions of the sun, moon, and planets. If that's true, then shouldn't it follow that a horse's future can be forecast? Well, yes, says astrologist Susan Schwartz. She's a resident stargazer that's staying at the Concord Hotel, which is not far from the site of last Sunday's richest harness race in the world. It was a 262,000 Monticello, New York, off-the-board classic for 3-year-old pacers. So they're going to give her the odds of the Colts' foaling dates and they're not going to be burdened with anything other than she's not going to know about charts, tout sheets, or any other silly superstitions. So Suzanne picked Speedy Romeo, the bettor's choice at 7-2 to win. She said, "This is a Pisces horse, a gentle horse. It will win because Pluto is in the 8th house of legacies and Neptune is in the 10th house." That sounds about right.
Yep.
The winner of the race, it was Oil Burner, whom the astrologist Suzanne Schwartz predicted that horse would finish 8th in the 10-horse field. Because of the glum news that Saturn was in the 2nd house. Where did Speedy Romeo finish? Not first, not second, not third, not fourth. He finished in 5th place. So I'm not going to her for any of my future tellings.
I feel like singing a song from the play Hair now, when in Fifth Dimension, when the moon's in
That's
the
right.
seventh house and Jupiter's aligned with Mars.
Yes. But if anyone comes at you with that, I'm pretty much sure they don't know what they're doing.
About anything. Not just harness racing, but
In
basically
anything.
basically life.
Yes,
As
you
soon
go
as I
into,
hear-
"Look, Bill, your moon's in the 7th cloud in the Uranus moon." Yeah, I'm done. If she says it's in my Uranus, I'm done.
Yeah, in more way than one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Hey, Mark, back in the day, I loved this as a kid. The NFL champions would play the college all-stars in a college exhibition.
Yep, it would be the very first exhibition game. So like now you have like the Canton Hall of Fame is the first exhibition game played every year. Back then it was this, and it was played at Soldier Field in Chicago. And whoever won the championship, the NFL champion, or then when you had the Super Bowl was created, it would be the Super Bowl champion, and they would play a bunch of college all-stars. And the NFL dominated. They won 31 times. The college all-stars won 9, and it wasn't until the 60s they actually won a game, and they had 2 ties. But in 1976, they're playing this game, and late in the third quarter, the Steelers are up 24-0 when it just starts raining. It's blinding rain. There's threats of thunderstorms and stuff. So they decide, let's just call the game. And then when they thought about it, why don't we just call the series? Because that was the last time they ever played this game. Done because of the weather.
Wow. And the other thing that's, we take for granted now is, the Hall of Fame game. I mean, those games, all exhibition games now, the starters don't play,
No,
Yep,
it's all
yep.
the fourth,
but
fifth
back
stringers.
then, the Steelers are the two-time defending champions, and Bradshaw plays like a half,
Wasn't it a
Yeah.
couple years ago that Bradshaw was getting hit hard by these
Yeah.
guys?
They got sacked like
Yeah.
6 times in a
Yeah.
game or something like that. So they were playing to win. It's so strange to think about that back then. Yeah, I loved it. It was the first chance to see like how an Archie Griffin was going to do versus the NFL, and
But it'd be great to see that in sports, to see the NCAA champion take on, let's say, if the Lakers want to take on the Warriors. It would be fun. It'd be
right?
fun nowadays.
Yeah, I just read the other day where the Dream Team, the 92 Dream Team played our best college players before
Oh.
going to, so it was like Chris Webber and Penny Hardaway and Bobby Hurley and Jamal Mashburn, and the college players beat them. They won by 8. And then
Wow.
Webber said they played again the next day, and the NBA, the Dream Team, just destroyed them. He said we scored like 11 points or something.
Well,
The NBA guys were like, "We'll just take it easy. It's just a fun game." And then they probably saw the college guys going, "We whooped up on you."
Yeah.
Guys like Michael Jordan and Magic said, "Okay, done."
Yeah. Andre Richardson, 26, of Seat Pleasant, Maryland, had an airtight alibi for the October 12th burglary he was accused of. He was home watching the Redskins. 4 friends even showed up in court to vouch for him, all insisting they'd spent that Sunday parked in front of the TV together. Just one catch, a scheduling snafu, if you will. The Redskins played on Monday night that week.
oops.
Oh, that's
Uh-oh.
great.
The
That's really
prosecutor pounced. Richardson had no answer, and the judge wasted no time making the call. Guilty, 30 days. So
If you're gonna rob a place, at least know your schedule if you're gonna say you watched a game.
you, criminals not always the brightest bulbs.
It's time for
They said it. Bum Phillips back in the day, Bill. He was often being quoted.
He was a great quote. He said on why he dislikes inter-squad scrimmages. Why should we pound our own guys into the ground? He said the Oilers are not on the Oilers' schedule.
Hmm.
And we didn't know which Oilers team would win on there.
He was ahead of his time. That's why they stopped playing their starters in these exhibition games. It wasn't worth any type of injury risk, right?
No, Bum's a great name though.
Yes.
You got the name Bum, you got to be somewhat, controversial.
Mark, Katie Schmidt, U.S. javelin thrower. What'd she say?
Well, she was asked if, despite strict Olympic Village rules, there's been any hanky-panky. She said, I certainly hope so.
Someone told me there's a lot of hanky-panky in there.
Yes. Well, just so long as she doesn't do the hanky-panky with her javelin. That's all.
Yes.
As long as she doesn't turn herself around.
I'm
That's the
changed.
hokey pokey. Sorry.
She does some hanky-panky
Oh
with her
my
javelin.
God. Do
She
the
does some
hanky panky and turn me around.
Yeah.
Okay.
What it's all about.
That's right.
High, wide, and handsome. Roughly 684 athletes ultimately withdrew from the Montreal Games amid the political boycotts. But once competition began and Nadia Comaneci emerged as a global sensation, the controversy quickly faded from front page attention. Mark, the Montreal Olympics were underway.
They sure will. And you know what's so interesting is that, the cost of the games, the bidding rights, it cost $25 million to be paid to cover the Montreal Olympics. And they were talking that the Moscow Games in 1980, which of course we never showed up for because we boycotted it, they thought it would go for more than 50 million. And I'm thinking, okay, that must have seemed like a lot of money to them until you think about today. NBC signed a contract to cover the Olympics, okay, the 2034 Salt Lake City Olympics, the Winter Games, and then the 2036 Summer Games. How much do you think they paid for those two Olympics for the rights?
It
200
would start
million.
with a B.
Okay.
It would start with a
Billions.
B,
Okay.
right? $3 billion.
Holy
So,
smokes. You
Yeah.
can't even buy a basketball team for that.
yep. So it's come a long way.
Wow.
I mean, if you think about it, back then, and obviously I'm not excusing it or whatever, but back then it was on basically 8 to 11 every night.
That's right.
Right.
Now it's on 24/7 for 16 days.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
on
it is-
16
On
different
80.
channels.
Right.
yeah, on
Most
all
of them
sorts
streaming.
of different.
Yeah, most of them streaming, 100%.
Yep. Bill, man, a lot of athletes and yet a lot of media coverage as well.
Yeah, they said this was the first time ever that the journalists outdrew the competitors. There were 10,000, almost 11,000 journalists and just over 8,000 athletes. That's more than 2,000 journalists that are probably trying to scrub for stories somewhere.
Right? That's just
Dang.
unbelievable.
Now, can I ask you something?
Sure.
So there's a picture of all the media there, and there's just, it's row after row
Yeah.
after row. They've got their monitors in front of them. They're wearing headsets and stuff. But what don't you notice in those photos?
You?
Well,
That's
no, I'm
true.
in row 8. If you look at row 8,
Exactly.
you'll see me
Get
there.
it right. No, what is it?
There's no laptops. Nobody's got a computer.
Oh, that's
Everything's
right.
everything's got to be handwritten. There are telephones there,
On
like
paper, yeah, we had to
yeah.
probably carry those pads around all the time.
Right. Everyone's writing on paper, everyone would have their laptop open. That show would be all laptops.
And phones.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cell phones.
You might
They
have
even have those big ones from
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell in there.
you might have, some landlines, probably.
They had to have a ton of those everywhere.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy. ABC Sports President Roone Arledge exercised outside control over how Americans experience the Olympics, strategically building up telegenic stars like Nadia Comaneci and Bruce Jenner. Yeah, basically he was saying, let's get the good-looking people out there for people to watch.
Yeah, he did. He liked Frank Shorter, said he was attractive, and you had said Bruce Jenner, but it was just the weird how it's written in the magazine. It said, Bruce Jenner, he said, oh yeah, this is what Arledge said. He said, he could really come out of this hot. He's charismatic. I think he could be another Dorothy Hamill.
And he is.
He almost is now. That's a literal there. Man,
Yep.
yeah.
Except he's not short and sassy.
No.
No, but I'm just saying he sort of maybe Arledge knew something that we didn't know,
Yeah.
you know.
I think there was a lot that we didn't know.
You don't know what she did. You don't want to know what she
Exactly.
does.
A lot of scandals among the competitors. Guys getting expelled for cheating. The Soviet water polo team forfeited to Cuba.
Yep.
So a lot of weird stuff going on in the first couple days.
Yeah, the Canadians kicked off one of their top sprinters, Bob Martin. He snuck a pal into the village. You can't do that. And then this one didn't say his name. They said also tossed was a 66-year-old trap shooter from Monaco for popping amphetamines. Come
Wow.
on, 66-year-old guy. If you're 66 years old and you're in the Olympics, put away the amphetamines just for 2 weeks.
Right? I can't
Was
imagine
this
that helps you shoot much better, but what do I know? I've never shot and I've never taken amphetamines. So,
Exactly. That's a heck of a combo, evidently.
yeah. I gotta think that sneaking someone into the Olympic Village 4 years after what happened in Munich, not a good idea.
No, but
Not a good idea.
Bob Marlin, excuse me, that had to be a female.
I would hope so,
I
right?
couldn't picture going, yeah, hey, dude, let's just go get drunk.
Right, right. And they were doing the hokey pokey.
Yeah, hanging out with the guy popping amphetamines.
All right, let's get in the pool. Mark, Jim Montgomery, our guest from
yeah,
last week, he was doing his thing.
he sure was. As we talked to Jim about this, what an Olympics he had. He won 3 gold medals: 100-meter freestyle, 4x200-meter freestyle, 4x100-meter medley, and then he got a bronze in the 200-meter freestyle. So that's 4 medals he took home. But I mean, a lot of the Americans took home multiple medals. I mean, we were so dominant in the pool.
Brian Goodell, our other guest from last week, he wins gold twice. The
Yeah.
swimming dominance of that U.S. men's team, and as we mentioned off the air, if you think about what they're going up against with the East German men, assuming they were cheating just like the women were, makes it even more impressive. And Bill, tell us about Doug Northway.
Well, Doug Northway, he arrives, he's part of the swim team, but he arrives in Montreal and, subdued mood. He says it means he's an alternate. So he says it means I only get to swim in a preliminary heat. But then he says, it's just our team is great. He exclaimed to anybody that was around. He said, it's just an honor to be part of the team. Well, Northway gets in the act. His only swim in Montreal came leading off the 800 freestyle relay team, made up of mostly substitutes in the morning heat. They set a world record. That mark held up until the same evening when the U.S. first teamers, they set the world record. But Northway says, just think, I'm the last man on the team and I got a world record. He got to do that for 10 hours. So you
Wow.
go with that idea. You're not going to you get to do one race, but in that one race, you set a world record
Yeah.
until the first teamers come in and take it away. But it just showed you how deep this team was that even your alternates are setting world records.
I mean, I think Brian Goodell, when he wins the 1500, he sets a world record. The guy who got the silver was an American. He set
Yep.
the world record, and the Australian guy who got the bronze, he set a world record.
Wow. And Brian Goodell was 17 years old. He
I
was still in
know,
high school.
I know.
Dang, man. He went to Mission Viejo High School, which was a rival of Dana Hills.
Records fell in all but four of the 26 swimming
Ooh.
events, an unprecedented pace that stunned former champions like Don Scholander, whose 1964 gold medal would have only earned a bronze here in the 76 women's competition. So, unbelievable performance by the U.S. men. And Mark, an update on a past guest of ours who was shining here in Montreal, a little diver by the name of Jenny Chandler.
Right, right. And we all called her Jennifer Chandler, but back then she was Jenny Chandler. And she wins gold in that 3-meter springboard, and it's a wonderful picture of her. And she's like coming off the board, and her back is arched, and her arms are straight to the side, and her head's upside down, and she's in perfect form. But great. It just brings back memories. And she was one of the nicest
Yeah,
ladies
she
and
sure
stuff.
was.
And she offered us come to Birmingham. I'll show you the town, which we've not taken her up on.
Yeah, and think of that. Brian Goodell, 17. She was child as
50.
well,
Yep.
17 years old. That's
Yep.
a lot of, man, to think of that 17-year-olds performing the way they did. Well, we talked about Nadia, 14, but my goodness. Holy Moses, what a dandy race. Mark Edwin Moses may not have looked like a world-class athlete, but he sure was.
He sure was. And like I said, he wore glasses. There's a picture of him. He's competing and he's running away from the field and he's got his glasses on. And what's the old saying, like never hit a man wearing glasses? Well, I guess, never run track against a man wearing glasses because he must know something you don't
Clark
know.
Kent wore glasses.
He did to hide
That guy hit him in the bar.
well, maybe if Edwin Moses took his glasses off, we'd realize he was Superman.
That's exactly right. That's
He
what I'm
may have
getting
been.
That's
at.
right.
Yeah.
He sure looked like Superman in the 400-meter hurdles, world record of 47.64. And his consistent stride, Bill, he had a certain rhythm that worked for him.
Yes, he was doing the 13, they said the 13 step gait between hurdles. The other guys in the competition were doing 15 steps. To me, that thought of, and I think we talked about it off air that Mark was saying, you're counting your steps. Are you counting or you just know it?
Yeah, he must know by then. Must be muscle memory that he just knows,
Yeah, it has
you
to be.
know, um, that, boom, 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 jump, boom, 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 jump. It's just a pace.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Hoping we can get Edwin Moses on before the year's over. Bill,
Can we do one thing, Scott? But are we going on? Because I want to just go back to the swimming for a second.
oh, please do.
On the women's side, that they were saying the East German women, they had never, ever won a swimming gold medal, but they've taken 11 of the 13 events and 16 of 13 individual medals. But when a West German journalist asked why a couple of them had suspiciously deep voices, the GDR coach retorted, "We're here to swim, not to sing." Sorry.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And
My name is Ivanka.
Exactly.
Yes.
How are you? My name is Evita.
Barry
Why do you
White
have a
went, that
mustache?
Barry White said that chick's got a deep voice, man.
No, I just thought it was funny. Here's a country that's never won anything, never
Right.
won a swimming gold medal, and they're just running away with it. And back in the day, it was like, yeah, they just practiced.
Yep. They're in the
Yeah,
pool. They're in the pool. They go from the lab to the pool, from the
they
lab to the
they
pool.
sleep in the pools. Yeah. So hey,
Back to someone else we mentioned earlier as well, Katie Schmidt. When she wasn't doing the hanky panky, Bill, what was she doing?
she was actually getting a gold medal, which she did on her last attempt to take the bronze. I should hope I didn't say gold. Take the bronze in the women's javelin.
She was battling some stomach cramps and ulcers, but
Yeah, that's right, Scott. I remember that. Yeah, she was. Yeah,
she got the bronze on her final throw. And that
yeah.
gets us to our cover story. Nadia Adya. Everybody flipped over the 14-year-old Nadia Comaneci as she made gymnastics look like child's play and scored not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, but seven tens. 14-year-old Nadia Comaneci became the breakout star of the Montreal Games, thanks in large part to her coach, someone we all know from when he came to America.
That's right, Bella Caroli, who ended up coming out here, and I think didn't he wasn't the Carrie Strug coach
And Mary Lou Retton.
and Mary Lou Retton. Yeah, so he came from out there to here to help our girls.
Did pretty well. I thought this was pretty interesting in I think it was Belarus. No, Romania. Sorry. In Romania, says he was scanning kindergartens for talent. Now,
Now, it depends on how the way that's said.
right? Exactly.
Bill, what are you doing? I'm just scanning kindergarten
Supposed to
for
show you a
talent.
different time,
Yes,
definitely a
come
more
on.
innocent time.
And
But
I know what he's saying, but if you just go up 50 years, you say something like that.
yeah. Now, 4 years earlier, Olga Korbut was the Nadia Comaneci of
Yeah.
the 72 Olympics. Now she's an old 21-year-old, and they're not being all that kind to Miss Olga Korbut, are they?
Not a bit. They said she's got bad teeth, her hair's stringy, and she's just not camera friendly. And that's just unfortunate because she won the silver behind Comaneci on the beam and scored a 9.9. This girl was a
Well,
great gymnast, but they were judging her on unfair qualities.
Well, if you're going to judge someone on their teeth, wouldn't you have to disqualify everybody from England?
Yeah, that's
Pretty
true.
much. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, Olga had no chance really because Nadia, I contend, was a vampire because,
Mhm.
the description in the magazine says her lips are faint and thin, lost beneath dusky sulfur eyes that caused many of those who studied her to imagine that she must be some brooding, mysterious Carpathian princess. So that could have been like one of Dracula's like
That's
brides
right.
and stuff. Where did Dracula come? The Carpathian Mountains. I'm just saying.
Well, she is married to Bart Connor. They do own a gymnastics gym, and they close at 5 o'clock.
Yes, and they
Mm.
reek of garlic.
Yeah,
Yes, I don't
you
know
know
if they
what?
close at 5 o'clock, but it played into my story, so I kept it.
No, but now it'll be like, hey, Nadia, could you come on the show? One of our hosts compared you to a vampire. I think it'd be great.
She says, yeah, before it gets dark,
Can
or after it gets dark, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I dispel one quick myth? Not that anyone cares, but this whole thing about vampires not being able to live in the sunlight, that they disintegrate, that was never in Dracula, the novel by Bram Stoker. Dracula could move around during the daytime, didn't have all his powers, but he could move around. That whole dust thing came from Nosferatu when they did the
Yep.
pirated version because they didn't have the rights to say Dracula. And they said that he dies when the cock crows. So this whole thing, whenever they do a vampire movie or series and they burn at the sight of the sun, that is all from Nosferatu, the movie, and not from the novel Dracula.
Did you
Just
say
want to
when
share that.
the cock grows?
Cock crows. Get your mind out of
Crows.
the gutter.
Oh,
Crows.
no, I thought
Because
you
it's
said
it's
cock. I was
going
thinking,
cock-a-doodle
yeah,
doo. It's
or how they get up in the morning, evidently.
Right.
That thing's pretty big, Bob. I'm up. I'm sorry. That's what I heard you say. My bad.
Right. Be like, is Dracula dead? I don't think so.
He's got a pipe on him.
All
all
right.
right. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's talk about people shooting things.
Okay.
Not vampires.
Enough to take his breath away. Lanny Bassham won gold in the small bore three-position rifle event using a self-developed mental training program, crediting his improvement since a 1972 Munich silver to psychological rather than technical gains. Bill, what a story this was, and tell me how precise these shooters are.
Okay, this comes straight from Bassam's mouth. He says, we are shooting from 50 meters over half a football field at a bullseye 3/4 the size of a dime. If the angle of error at the point of the barrel is more than 0.005 of a millimeter, that is 5/1000ths. You drop into the next circle and lose a point. Holy smokes.
The precision is unbelievable.
And I wonder with Lanny, was he ever, I mean, because we've seen the movies, snipers, was he a US Army sniper? Because with that type of ability, not many men or women have that ability to do that.
No. Well, I mean, you're talking to me who's had vision issues his whole life, so
Yeah.
I couldn't they could be a huge target and I'd be like, "What are you looking at?"
But
Oh,
But
just
this was
there
a
goes
great
Scott. He's just shot another innocent person.
right, right.
my bad. I'm saying when you just read that and you look what he goes through to actually prepare himself to shoot, is what you said, it is an incredible story.
And so is this one. Margaret Murdoch, the first woman to represent the U.S. in Olympic shooting. She actually ties Bassam his score exactly, but Bill, she loses on a goal a gold to him on a tiebreaker, a controversial outcome that Bassam publicly called unfair. What did he try to do?
Well, he went to the International Olympic Committee and he said whether two golds could be given. The IOC says, sure, it's agreeable with us, but you have to check with the shooting union. The shooting union said, no, you know the rules. It's not right. So you can't do that. So Bassam ended up getting the gold, but he brought Murdoch up on stage with him. Just a class act.
50 years ago, Lanny Bassham stood on the Olympic podium in a moment that became as much about sportsmanship as it was about gold. A rifle marksman who credited his victory not to technical skill, but to a self-built mental training program he created after a heartbreaking silver in Munich 4 years earlier. He'd go on to build that system into a training method used by Olympians, PGA Tour pros, Navy SEALs, and Fortune 500 companies. It's called the Mental Management Systems, and its founder and 1976 gold medalist Lanny Bassham joins us now on Past Our Prime. Hey, Lanny, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
I think before we get started and asking any of the in-depth questions, it's probably important for you to explain to us exactly what your event was, because we just hear rifles, marksmen, but give us a little detail as to what you were doing to try and win a medal.
Well, I qualified for the 50-meter three-position uh, event, which is an individual medal. It's you're talking about the gold medal, and you're using a 22 caliber rifle with iron sights, and you shoot three positions: prone, standing, and kneeling. And you shoot 40 shots in each position, one shot on a target. And if you hit the 10 ring, you get 10 points. If you hit the 9 ring, you get 9 points, and so forth. So that's it. The 10 ring is about the size of an eraser on a pencil, 50 meters away, and that's it's important to hit that most of the times, or you're not gonna back. We have three events in the Olympics back in 1972. The 50-meter three-position event, the 300-meter event, which I shot in the Olympics in 72, but I won the World Championships in 74 in that event, and then won the Olympics in the 50-meter event. And but we have a 10-meter event with an air rifle, which is quite popular in the world. And I have a lot of clients in the 10-meter event, and that's you use a pellet rifle, but it's not your mom and dad's BB gun.
Yeah,
But
for someone like me who has vision issues, it sounds impossible.
well, and when you think about it, there's enough movement in the heart rate to kick you out of the 10 ring when the 10 ring is the size of an eraser at 50 meters. So when the heart rate when the heart beats, it moves the body, and especially in prone and kneeling, and not so much in standing, but in prone and kneeling, and you have a sling on your arm which helps to stabilize the position in prone and kneeling, but you're not able to lean up against anybody. You can't use a bipod or anything like that, like some shooting sports allow you to do. So you have to, and everything is, your clothing is regulated, and you basically have to shoot between pulse beats to get a 10. And you don't want to shoot when the heart rate beats. And that's okay if your heart rate is 60 beats per minute. But sometimes Olympic pressure causes that heart rate to go up a little bit, maybe 180 beats per minute. That gets to be a problem.
Yeah, man, like I said, I knew you'd get into the intricacies for us. Let me go back to 1972 in Munich. For most people, Lanny, yay, I win a silver medal. that was not the case with you. And it's not necessarily the silver medal. I think you would have had the same reaction had you won a gold medal. It was that you made a mistake and you didn't score as well as you thought you should have. Tell us how that silver medal in 72 shaped the rest of your life.
Well, I'd spent 3 years on the U.S. team, and I managed to get in the top four. We had four-person teams there and at that time, but I happened to be born in a country that dominated Olympic rifle shooting during my years. And so my teammates, if you make the top four, an American rifle team, um, all of my three teammates had world titles. Now we hold the world championships every 4 years and the Olympics every 4 years. So the only time you can get a world title is every other year. And so I joined. I was the only one that didn't have a world title, and so I was desperate for one. And but I'd spent 3 years on the U.S. team, on the top four, but I hadn't won anything. I hadn't won any national championships. I didn't have any world records. I'd shot and won world championships and but I didn't shoot terribly well in that competition. I knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. But when I started the competition in 1972, in Munich, what had happened to me was that the pressure was just so much greater than the world championships. And I felt like the Olympics, if I won the Olympics, would care if I hadn't won anything in the previous Olympics. You know, when you punch that ticket, there's no bigger ticket to punch. I put a little pressure on myself to make sure that was, and then back in those days, we thought mental performance was something you had. It wasn't something you could learn, so we weren't trying to learn it. And uh, so when I talked to my coaches and I said, so why am I not winning? And well, and one reason you're not winning is you're on the team. It's hard to win when you've got to shoot against the reigning world champions and the reigning Olympic gold medalist every week. Keep practicing. Your time's coming and all that kind of stuff. And nobody ever told me that it was how I thought. I shoot in the Olympics, and I had a bad start. Um, we had 60 shooters on the line, and I ended up with my prone score was um, I was in 54th place. I was almost at the bottom, and uh, and so I'm way behind, and I've got to compete against Jack Ryder, who is the reigning world champion and held the world record, my teammate. And only two people are allowed per country in my sport. So we left a bunch of really good shooters home, and because we could only enter two people, and I finished second in the tryout. So, but when I got to standing, I couldn't recover from that poor start. And so finally, I just decided that I dropped so many points. There's no way in the world I'm gonna get a medal. So I just decided I'm just gonna enjoy this because uh, no pressure on me because I'm out of the game. And so then I shot well. So when I came home from the Olympics, I I knew what was wrong. I knew what I missed. I didn't have a mental system that would work under that kind of pressure, and so I started learning everything that I could about it, and the and I found out something interesting. I talked to the best sports psychologist I could find, and he told me, he says, he asked me, he says, how can I help you? And I said, well, I'm number two in the world. I want to be number one in the world. And he says, well, does that bother you that you're number two in the world? And I said, yeah, it bothers me. I mean, every time I talk to somebody, they said, "Oh, you were in the Olympics?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Did you win anything?" "Yeah, I won a silver medal." They all say the same thing: "Who won the gold?" And so I'm reminded all the time when I talk to people that I didn't get the job done, and yeah, it bothers me. And he said, "Well, I'm glad you came to me because you worked with me for about 6 months. I can get you okay with being number two in the world. Well, it won't bother you anymore." More. And I said, "That's not exactly why I came here." And I said, so that's not the same thing. And so he said, well, we don't know anything about winning here. Okay, well, then that's not true. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not against sports psychology or anything like that. I'm just telling you that most sports psychology programs don't teach winning. And so I thought, where are the winners at? And so I knew that I had the phone numbers of some Olympic gold medalists, and the rifle shooters weren't going to talk to me. So I left a message on the answering machine of an Olympic gold medalist and said, "You don't know me, but I'm an Olympic silver medalist. You're Olympic gold medalist. I need your help. Please call me back." And they always did. But I nobody had the whole story, but everybody had a piece of it. And so I saw a pattern developing here. I connected the dots and created a system to this. When I upgraded to it uh, in the World Championships in 1974, um, I entered 6 events, and I was on the podium in all 6 events, and I won 3 of them, 3 world titles and 4 world records. And so I had a system that worked, and I didn't mention it to anybody because it was kind of my edge. And then I go into the Olympics in 1976, and who made the team with me in '76 was Margaret Murdoch, and Margaret was the only woman there. We never saw any other women, and there was the rules stated that it was an open event back in those days, so women could compete with men, but and Margaret had always had the skills, and she had the experience, and we were lucky to have her on the Olympic team, but it produced a controversy because what happened was that one of my shots was transcribed. It was clearly a 10 on the target, but it was transcribed a 9 on my scorecard. And so I had people scoping me and Margaret and while we were shooting, and when I went into the last position, Margaret Murdoch had picked the right day to have a really good score, and she shot great. I go into kneeling. I'm 5 points down, and uh, but I've got mental management, and I'm a really good kneeling shooter, and so I managed to tie her. If you tied, then they went to the last 10 shots to find out to break the tie. I felt really bad for Margaret having shot the same score that I shot, and she's going to get a silver medal. And I knew what it was like to have a silver medal. Had this experience for 4 years. She didn't deserve that. It was totally unfair to her. We actually tried to get a separate gold medal, and the United States Olympic Committee was all for it. And the International Committee actually told us that they had an extra gold medal, and but we had to get permission from the Shooting Sports Federation. And so a representative from the Shooting Sports Federation told us that they had to follow the rules. And there were bad rules. They agreed that there were bad rules, but they had to follow the rules that were established. And so we couldn't get her a gold medal. I have never stopped trying to get Margaret Murdoch a gold medal. And but one thing that I could do, I had an idea. I told Margaret, I says, I can't get you a gold medal, but I'll tell you what I can get you. They play the national anthem for the Olympic gold medalists, and so we go on the podium and we get our medals around our necks, and then the next thing that happens is they play the national anthem, and so on the first note of the national anthem, step up on the top podium with me and we'll take the national anthem together. Well, that story made Sports Illustrated.
It sure did.
That went around the world.
But you know, Lanny, Margaret must have been honored that you did that for her. What was her reaction when she was standing next to you, and what did you guys talk about afterwards about your honoring her?
Well, I felt bad about it. I knew what it was like. I just put myself in her shoes, and it was hard. I mean, for about 2 hours, she thought she was Olympic champion, and everybody was coming up to her and congratulating her until they finally realized that they had a problem because we protested the scoring, and so she didn't know what was going on and until a couple hours after all of this dust settled and that was hard on her. They followed the rules, but that's a stupid rule. As a matter of fact, I won a world champion. I lost a world championship in 1974, and in the air rifle event, I had the same score as the guy, the world champion, but that same rule cost me.
But Lanny, I want to take you back a little bit. You had talked about between 72 and 76 that were trying to work on your mental game, or you were working on your mental game, and you talked to a series of athletes. What did guys like Mark Spitz, what advice did they impart on you, or what type of ideas did they give you?
Oh, I'll give you an example. They were not, the people that I talked to were not trying to win. They were trusting that they would. And there's a big difference between trying and trusting. And the reason why that's different is that there's a thing that nobody talked about this back in the day, but a couple of these gold medalists did talk about it. They didn't all call it the same thing, but it's I came to realize that performance is a function of three mental processes: conscious, subconscious, and self-image. The act of shooting is highly, the skilled part of shooting is highly subconscious. And in other words, you're not, it happens so fast that you're not consciously telling the trigger to pull the trigger. You're holding the rifle and you're looking through the sights, and there's a um, process that because you're skilled, the targets, the rifle goes off at the right time, and sometimes it doesn't, but it's primarily a subconscious process. But then I found out that what you think about matters. There are helpful and harmful thoughts. And when you can determine the helpful ones and stay away from the harmful ones, that makes a big difference in your score. And the self-image is how you respond to what's happening. In other words, here's one thing that I wish everybody knew, that when you shoot a bad shot, these champions were telling me is a mistake is a lesson. It's not a bad shot. It's not says that I'm not good now, and so that's an imprint on your self-image. And so how you respond to the shots that you shoot, this is true of any kind of performance. When things don't go good, if you look at that as a lesson and you say, well, what is this teaching me? And that's important. You build self-image primarily by how you process how you're doing. The champions tend to praise themselves when they do well, and they avoid cutting themselves down when they don't do well. And that's the opposite of the people in the middle of the leaderboard. And so I picked up on that, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's different. I'll start reinforcing what I do well and learning from when I don't." And that's that's just a small portion of what I teach to other people, but that was probably nothing's more important than that.
When people think of the Olympics, they think of like track and field, swimming, these sports that involve this physical, exertion. And when it comes to shooting, I would assume, and you have to tell me, it's 99% mental. But doesn't that mental makeup also encompass any other sport, even the most physical of sports? If you don't have that mental toughness, you're not to succeed. So in a sense, shooting is just as much an Olympic sport as any other.
Yeah, rifle shooting has one distinction. It's the only sport in the Olympics where you're trying to make the body stop.
Mm,
Wow.
mm.
Every other sport is trying to make. By the way, you have to turn on and turn off muscles to slow the movement down. So it's. But here's an interesting thing. If the Lord lets me live one more year, and I continue to teach, I will have been a full-time mental coach for 50 years. And I've talked to a lot of athletes in a lot of different sports and applications, and Navy SEALs and all these people, and PGA Tour players, and when I ask all of them the same question: what percentage of your sport's mental? And when you talk to these champions, you're going to get a big number back. The number I get most often, it doesn't matter what sport it is. It could be track, it could be swimming, and they're going to say, they all say the same thing. My sport's 90% mental. Because when you solve the physical skill issues of a sport, what's left is how you handle the mind. And you can have negative thoughts in any sport, in any activity, in any business situation. When I first started my company, Mental Management Systems, I found out that Olympic athletes were the wrong people for me to build a business by. There's not very many Olympic athletes to start with. And so, and most of the Olympic athletes didn't want to pay my fees. And but because they get everything given to them. Sometimes there's no such thing as an unsubsidized Olympian. But here's the reason why. If you ask all these people the second question, Well, since you've been doing this sport, what percentage of time and money have you spent on the thing that you think that's is the most important? It's a very low number. And well, why is that? I mean, if 90% of the game is mental, you would think that you would give it a priority. Well, why is that true? And it's true everywhere. It's because it's a whole lot harder to teach and to learn the mental skills.
I mean, would you agree on this point? And I always thought that the most successful person, whether it's an Olympic athlete, whether it's a business person, a Navy SEAL, or anything, the successful person doesn't have this fear to fail. It seems like we see in society so much that people are held back because they're afraid they're going to fail and they don't want to fail.
Yeah, I think that you've got to get past that. That's baggage that you can't afford to carry. Fear of failure will keep that's a mental error. As a matter of fact, making a mistake is not a mental error. Making
Mm,
mistake and learning from it is a requirement to get better. I don't know any champions, and I'm sure that the people that you've talked to, and that it might be interesting for you to ask them this question: is that are you have you ever made a mistake? And
mm,
that
mm,
all the champions that I know have made thousands of mistakes. The difference between them and the people that they beat is that they learn more from their mistakes that they made because they were trying to learn and they weren't beating themselves up when they made a mistake. Most champions would tell you I made thousands of mistakes, but I learned from every one of them.
We're talking with Lanny Bassham, a 1972 silver medal winner in shooting. He wasn't satisfied with that, so he tried to figure out what it was he needed mentally to become a gold medal winner, which is exactly what he did 4 years later in Montreal. He is the author of the book With Winning in Mind, the Mental Management System. That's the system that he developed to figure out how to be a champion, not how to live with being in second, but how to be a champion. And I want to ask you, Lanny, what was the biggest challenge in translating a system built for competitive shooting into something that golfers and executives and members of the military could use? How did you knew that, like you said, you couldn't just sell this to fellow Olympians. There'd be 8 of them. You had to make it more broad. Were you able to do that?
Well, like let's take an example of golf. I don't play golf, and but I teaching. I teach PGA Tour players, and you say, but golf is a shooting sport. You've got a target. You got a golf club. There's a mental process to everything you do. I did really well at public speaking. A portion of my business was public speaking and giving a keynote address at a corporate event has an anticipation phase, an action phase, a reinforcement phase to it. Just like a mental process for a shot, golf shot, it's the same thing. If you're in business and you're in sales, you have an anticipation phase of the sale, you have an action phase of the sale, you have a reinforcement phase. How you correct your faults and you praise your good sales and you all of the principles that I teach to PJ Tour players or Olympic archers. I had 3 clients in the Paris Olympics, and all of them won medals. That was good for me. It was good for them, but they determine what to think about. There's a difference between everything that you do in life has 3 phases to it. It has an anticipation for what you think about before the task, the what you think about during the task and what you think about immediately after the task. And performance is a function of three mental processes: conscious, subconscious, self-image. And those three mental processes are connected to those three phases. The anticipation phase is a conscious issue. The action phase is a subconscious issue, and the reinforcement phase is a self-image issue. And mental consistency promotes technical consistency. Technical consistency promotes high scores, and high scores is what everybody wants. That promotes winning. And I'd love to tell you that most of my clients are famous people or world champions or things like that, but it's not. I mean, I have my share of famous people, but most of my clients are trying to beat their brother-in-law when they play golf.
You know,
And
Lanny, I was thinking, let's say you win back in 1972. Let's say you take the gold. Have you ever looked back and realized that maybe if you did win that gold in 72, you may not have become the mental manager that you are now and helped so many lives?
oh, my favorite medal is that silver medal in 1972. I've got three kids and two medals. I'm already screwed. You know? But they all want the silver, not and probably gold medal will probably end up in a museum someplace. My Olympic rifles are in a museum, but but they all want that silver medal because it gave me a great occupation because I learned from my mistakes. That's it.
Grab your boots, it's trivia time. Past our prime, but still in our prime. Questions rolling like a tumbleweed. Tune in, folks.
True or false? In the 1896 Olympics, the very first modern day Olympics, shooting was one of the 9 original sports. True or false?
Absolutely true.
You are correct, and I figured you'd know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been in the Olympics, and I don't know if I should say this, but I would say that there's a part of the human and experience that's trying to get rid of shooting in the Olympics and to make room for other sports. The best shooting sport, the rifle event that all of us wanted to win the 300-meter event because it's harder to do than the 10-meter event or the 50-meter event. It's a lot harder when you got a target that's 3 football fields away, and it's the size of a teacup, and you've got to shoot a full bore rifle at that target, and you've got different layers of wind conditions. The wind's not blowing at the same direction at 100 meters than it is at 200 meters than it is at 300 meters, and you've got to calculate all that without a scope, and you've got to create all this kind of stuff. Everybody wanted to win the 300-meter event.
You know, Lanny, they still have, shooting in the Olympics, and it's your feat is even more impressive to note because there's never been another gold medalist in this event since you. Do you ever think back to that and realize just how
Well,
amazing that your performance was?
well, there's never been a United States
Yeah, that's what I meant. No
gold
United States medalist.
and but we still dominate a shooting sport, and it's shotgun.
Mhm.
You know, you need to talk to the Vincent Hancock. 4 Olympic gold medals. Uh, Goodness gracious. Talk to Kim Rhodey. She's the only person to medal in more than 5 Olympics.
Have you worked with them?
No, I haven't. I can't take any credit for those guys. Now, the three athletes that I taught that medaled in the Olympics, two of them were archers, and one of them was a shotgun shooter, a skeet shooter. But coaches don't get to take credit for their athletes' performances. They are a tool that athletes use to help them to perform better. It's been a great ride, and I thank God for the opportunity to do this.
Lanny, this has been a great ride, an absolute pleasure. Want to thank you for not only the story behind your Olympic goal, but the mindset that got you there and changed your life and changed so many others. We really appreciate your time. We wish you nothing but the best. Thank you for coming on Past Our Prime.
Got it. And give me more information about your podcast, and that sounds good.
We will gladly share that with you. Thank you.
Yeah.
The book is With Winning in Mind, The Mental Management System by Lanny Bassham. If you want a participation trophy, this might not be for you. If you want to know how to mentally prepare to win, get this book. Thank you, Lanny.
Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Lanny. Good stuff.
Take care.
Thank you.
Rookie cards of baseball, basketball, and football stars are iconic pieces of American history, and they have been outstanding investments over the last 50 years. Now, key issues of Sports Illustrated, professionally graded and encapsulated by CGC, have emerged as an exciting alternative to trading cards. ThePit.com is the leading online exchange for investment-grade sports magazines. General Manager Mark Humphreys offers Sports Illustrated first cover editions featuring stars like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Jeter, Ken Griffey Jr., and so many more. Joining us now is an expert when it comes to Sports Illustrated covers and what they might be worth, Mark Humphreys, the CEO of ThePit.com. And Mark, Nadia Comaneci took the world by storm 50 years ago.
That's right. She stole the show, as the cover presents here. And it's a beautiful cover with Nadia beaming after a performance. As we talked about before, the Olympics covers of Sports Illustrated are not particularly treasured by most collectors. There's a fairly small market for Olympics covers. This is one of the great Olympics covers, and yet only two have been graded by CGC. One was graded 9.2, which is a very high grade for this era, and another was graded 8.5. The 8.5 example traded sold for $70 in February 2026, just February of this year. So that's probably a disappointing result for the owner, given that it costs at least $30 just to get it graded. Mm-hmm. And this is for a newsstand edition. There have also been sales of autographed copies of this magazine. The two I've seen have both been subscription issues, the less desirable subscription issues. A CGC 6.5, a mid-grade example, sold for just $37 in 2024. And a nice framed example sold on Golden Auctions in 2022 for $120. So if you're a Nadia Comaneci fan, these are certainly available, and it is a beautiful cover, and the prices are right if you're a fan.
Only ThePit.com offers competitive buy now and sell now quotes on graded magazines online, as well as many of the most popular modern PSA graded rookie cards, including Shohei Ohtani, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Nikola Jokic, and Steph Curry. Trade sports stars like stocks at thepit.com. The Angels prospects are heavenly despite languishing in last place in the AL West and firing manager Dick Williams for Norm Sherry. The California Angels boasted baseball's most dominant farm system with 4 of 5 minor league affiliates leading their respective leagues. Billy, they had some guys we heard of and some guys I had never heard of.
Well, the key guys they talked about was Carlos Lopez, Ron Farkas, and
Really?
Fred Frazier.
Really?
and Farkas, yes, and Fred Frazier. Being an Angels fan back in the day, those guys were probably amazing ball players, but they didn't really do anything with the Angels. Then they mentioned 3 other guys. One of them, Willie Mays Aikens, was a very good player with the Angels, an even better player when he went to Kansas City. Then they mentioned Mike Overy, which played 26 games for the Angels, and I remember the days he pitched. Wasn't always that good. But the sad one was their most promising prospect was 23-year-old Mike Miley. Miley had quarterbacked LSU into the 1974 Orange Bowl, but left to sign with the Angels later that year. He passed away in a car wreck in 1977.
Oh, the start of the death curse for the Angels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just horrible. He could have been more than 23, 24 years old.
Yeah, he was 23.
Oh,
Wow.
23
And
years
then a few years later, Lyman Bostock, they're playing the White Sox. They're in town to play the White Sox, the Angels, and he's riding in a car with a friend, and a car pulls up, and the guy was trying to shoot the girl, not him, but instead hits him and kills him. And it's just, and the Angels have had several deaths. It's sad, but I mean,
And they killed a guy, the Lyman Bostock, that when he signed with the Angels as a free agent out of Minnesota, he had a bad first month, a really bad first month. He went to Angels management and asked if they would they would take his salary and donate it to charity because he didn't do what the Angels what he expected to do in the first month. This is a wonderful man. I'm not saying if he was a bad guy, deserved that. But he was just a wonderful man.
Yep. And the sudden passing of Garrett Anderson this past.
That's another shocking one out of nowhere. I mean, out of nowhere.
One of the all-time greats of that organization.
But the thing is, and this is the Angels organization. It's terrible that Garrett Anderson passed away. They don't have his number retired.
I know.
There's guys on the Angels wearing number 16. I keep thinking, man, not saying they should have expedited it after he passed.
Absolutely. Yeah, they just missed the mark on that stuff consistently, don't they?
Yeah, continually.
The Yankees comfortably led the AL East, aided by Doyle Alexander's near no-hitter and a scorching week from Thurman Munson, who batted .452 and drove in 5 runs in a rout of my Oakland A's. And Bill, Cleveland knew they weren't going to catch New York.
Yeah, Cleveland had won twice that week behind Jim Bibby, but President Ted Bonda seemed to indicate that he didn't think the Indians were going to catch the Yankees. So he suggested that beginning the next season, the playoffs should include wild card teams. That's a doggone good idea. It only took him a number of years to do that since the wild cards were added in 1994.
Now half the league make the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. But it's obviously Ted Bonda was ahead of his time. I'm sure there were other men and women that felt the same way, but I wonder why it took 18 years to get that. Is it you have to negotiate that in because that seemed like a great thing to do.
Money, probably a negotiating deal with all the lockouts and strikes and work store. By the way, I have to call an infield fly roll right now because I got 2 flies buzzing around me.
Well, maybe shower that might help.
Well. Mark, you know what else flies? You know what else flies hang around?
What?
Vampires.
Yep. How about this? Speaking of dead, Boston fired manager Daryl Johnson after a 1-6 week and 9 losses in 10 games, promoting Don Zimmer to the helm. Daryl Johnson came within 1 game of winning the World Series the year before when the Red Sox lost to the Reds. So obviously, they're not playing well, but they have some contract issues, and Fisk and Burleson, and those guys aren't happy. But yeah, Daryl Johnson, hit the road, pal. Mark, Player of the week is a famous Oriole.
Yeah, yeah. Reggie Jackson's known for a lot of things. He's known for his career with the A's, obviously with the Yankees, even a little with the Angels. But people forget he spent 1 year in Baltimore as a member of the Orioles, and he was playing DH. He only had 8 hits the entire week, but 6 of them were homers. He hit them in consecutive games, which tied an American League record. So, and he also scored 6 runs and drove in 12. So he was the player of the week.
Reggie did things in bunches, as the Dodgers are about to find out in a year or two.
Yeah, and this does snap my streak of talking about Mark Fidrich for like 80 straight weeks.
And there was a story in there from Fidrich.
There was, but I bypassed it.
Yeah. Did anyone ever try a Reggie bar?
Yes.
I liked it.
Yeah.
What was it made out of?
It was like a Baby Ruth.
Yeah, I
I
thought
like
they
Baby
were
Ruths.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Baby Ruths and Three Musketeers and
Yeah.
Mars. Snickers.
Basically just like a Baby Ruth, just shaped differently.
Yeah, I liked them.
And down the stretch they
For the
come.
record, Mark, do it again from one great Yankee to another.
Yeah, so when you think of the glory Yankees of the 20s and 30s, you think of Babe Ruth, you think of Lou Gehrig, but there were other really good players on their team. One of them was Earl Combs, who was a center fielder, and he batted leadoff for the team, and he was part of that murderer's row, and he had a 325 lifetime average, and a member of the Hall of Fame. He passes away at the age of 77. But people would know who Lou Gehrig is. People would know Babe Ruth is. Nobody will know who Earl Combs is,
Nope.
except the Combs family.
Correct. I would hope they would. Bill, back to the Olympics and those pesky East Germans.
Man, they're owning the Olympics. Man, they're just such good athletes. This is the rowing teams. The men and the women have combined to win 9 events this past week. 9 events in the sculls and coxswains and all that other things. They can do anything.
But what
East
swims?
Germany can do anything.
Right?
Come on, Sally, row. Okay there, Jeff. Give me another cigarette and some of those vitamins.
Retired Nick Bonacati, 35, Miami Dolphins middle linebacker, after a 14-year pro career. Began with the Boston Patriots and ended here with the Miami Dolphins. And I don't remember Nick Bonacati as a player, but I do remember him and Len Dawson doing Inside the NFL for 20 plus years on HBO. And did you guys know that he ended up after his playing days, he became a lawyer? And then, of course, he was a big advocate for his son, Mark.
Right.
Became a paraplegic after a bad tackle. I think he played for the Citadel. Is that right?
Was it? There was one. I was at Boston College.
No, it was in 1985, and he dislocated his C3 and C4 vertebrae.
Oh boy.
It was the Citadel. It was against East Tennessee State.
Yeah.
And Mark did spell his name with a C.
Oh, did he really?
Yep.
So he also misspelled his first name.
Yeah, he did. He did. But yeah, I mean, the family raised more than $550 million through the Bonacati Fund, for spinal cord injuries. So,
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Is the younger Bonacani still alive?
He is still alive.
That's great.
Yeah. He's now 59. Good for him.
Good for him.
Faces in the crowd. Bill, you go first.
Okay. This is Bill Anberg. This is at the National AAU Masters Track and Field Championships. The 65-year-old veterinarian set 2 age group world records in the 1,500 and 5,000 meters. He also won the 800 and 10,000 meters. This dude's not done. At the age 60, the Marathon Handbook proclaimed he was the fastest man of his age in the world, and he continued to set U.S. age group records in distance from a mile in the marathon well into his 70s and 80s. On one European Master Track and Field Tour, he ran 11 races in 23 days, winning 10 of them. He ran 35 marathons. Now, here's where it gets fun. He was dubbed the Gray Ghost. A reporter gave him that nickname in 1971 after 2 women spotted him running through a cemetery in a gray sweatsuit. He ran there to stay away from annoying dogs, but the women called police. They thought I was an escapee from the state hospital, Anberg said. I'm the gray ghost because I run in the cemetery to remind myself that I'm above the tombstones, not below them.
I don't know. So we've got vampires and guys running through cemeteries
Yes,
for the ghosts. It's true this isn't a Halloween episode.
it might be, but man,
Mark.
I don't know. I'm too scared to go on, man. All this talk is freaking me out. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Eric Dutt from Las Vegas, Nevada. 17 years old, he's the youngest golfer ever to win the Nevada Amateur. Shot a 6 over par 221 in the 54-hole event. Okay. And so he won in a playoff. So another playoff on the fourth hole. So where is Eric Dutt today? Well, you know what? He's still in Las Vegas. He is actually the vice president of golf operations for Caesars Entertainment. So he's still an influential guy there still. And he went to after he won the amateur championship at 17. He attended Purdue University, where he was the captain of the Boilermakers Big Ten championship team. And so a long history. His whole life basically spent in Vegas.
From the locker room to your living room, it's time for the 19th hole.
19th hole, Bill. The magazine can't decide if we're getting too much tennis or not enough. And Violet C. Gallagher, well, she has an opinion on this, doesn't she?
She does. She says, rather than too much tennis, as William Leggett suggests, we tennis enthusiasts feel the programs are too little or too late or too much Hollywood. We don't care for the glitter and glamour. We just like the prattle about which Hollywood stars are sitting there. We want to see tennis matches shown in their entirety, live. We desire more, not less. Thank you, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania's VCG.
Yeah. She likes her tennis. Let's just put it that way. Violet likes her tennis. What about Thomas Bellafato from Braintree, Massachusetts, Mark? What's his problem?
Well, he deeply regrets the fact in the July 19th issue, there was only a paragraph for the record on the death of Tom Yonke, the longtime owner of the Red Sox. I said, I realize space is limited, but he deserved more. We love him here in New England. And if we ever had a Hall of Fame of great human beings, he would be the first one in. But didn't he have like some issues? Didn't they say there was like scuttlebutt about racism or something with that?
Yep. They took for a while there. It was Yawkey Way was right behind Fenway, and then I should have looked this up, but I think they renamed it. The Red Sox were the last baseball team to integrate black players, and he got a lot of the blame for that. Their first black player was a guy named Elijah Pumpsy Green.
I never heard of that name.
In 1959. Want to thank Lanny Bassham for once again joining us on Past Our Prime and sharing his insights on how to overcome mental mistakes and turning bad situations into winning ones. Nadia Comaneci stole the show. Edwin Moses shocked the world, and Team USA dominated the pool in Montreal. For Bill and Mark, I'm Scott Johnston, and we are Past Our Prime.